Today, we're talking about a single, ancient place that has seen so much conflict, its very name became the word for the end of the world, Megiddo.
So here's the big question, the one that got us started on all this. How on earth could the battle plan from the very first fight ever written down, we're talking chariots and bronze swords, be almost perfectly copied 3,400 years later with airplanes and machine guns? I know, it sounds completely impossible, but it actually happened.
So, here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll see why this spot is so important. Then we'll look at a pharaoh's incredible gamble way back in 1457 BC and a British general's masterclass in deception in 1918. After that, we'll connect the dots and see how these two moments created world-changing victories. All right, first things first. Why Megiddo? What is it about this one little piece of land that's made it a battlefield for literally thousands of years?
You've heard it a million times, right? It's all about location, location, location. Well, Megiddo is the ultimate example. It sits right at the mouth of a super important mountain pass that controlled the ancient world's version of a superhighway, the Via Maris. If you were, say, the Egyptian Empire, and you wanted to trade or move your army north, you had to go through here. It was the ultimate choke point, and of course, that made it a magnet for war.
Okay, let's jump in our time machine and head back to 147 BC. We've got a new, young pharaoh on the throne, and the empire his family built is starting to look a little shaky.
Our guy is the warrior pharaoh, Thutmose III. The moment he gets real power, boom, a massive rebellion. A whole group of local kings, led by the king of Kadesh, has parked their army right at Megiddo, basically daring him to do something about it. The armies are pretty evenly matched. For Thutmose, this is it. This is his first big test. If he fails, the whole Egyptian empire could just fall apart. Talk about pressure.
So Thutmose arrives, and he's got a huge decision to make. There are 3 ways to get to Megiddo. 2 are long and safe. The third is direct, but it's super narrow and dangerous. And his generals? They are terrified of that direct route. This quote, which was literally carved into the walls of the Karnak temple, shows you just how scared they were. They thought the army would get picked off one by one in that narrow pass.
But this is where Thutmose shows his genius. He thinks, wait a minute, if my own generals are this scared of the direct path, my enemy probably thinks I'm too scared to use it too. He bet that the king of Kadesh would be guarding the 2 safe routes, leaving the dangerous one wide open. So he personally leads his army, horse by horse, chariot by chariot, right through that deadly pass. It was an unbelievable gamble, and it paid off perfectly. He popped out of the mountains with his entire army, and nobody saw him coming. Total surprise.
Okay, now hit the fast forward button. We're jumping 3,400 years into the future. Same place, different war. It's World War I, and British General Edmund Allenby is staring down a heavily fortified Ottoman army.
Now, the situation's a bit different, but the basic problem is exactly the same. Sure, Allenby's got more soldiers, but the Ottomans are dug in deep behind a strong defensive line. Just charging straight ahead would be a bloodbath. Allenby knew he needed an edge. He needed that same element of surprise.
And the way he got it, wow, it's one of the greatest tricks in military history. He put on a huge show to make the Ottomans think his main attack was coming from the east, in the Jordan Valley. He had soldiers march east all day, then secretly drove them back west in trucks at night. He built fake camps, had T.E. Lawrence's Arab fighters cause chaos out east. He even planted fake news in newspapers about a horse race happening on the day of the attack. The Ottomans bought it completely and moved all their backup troops to the wrong side of the battlefield.
Okay, so this is where it gets really mind-bending. You have 2 commanders, separated by over 3,000 years of history, looking at the same landscape, facing the same problem, and they both come up with a remarkably similar solution. Let's really look at how. Thutmose used the land itself as a weapon. He took the one path his enemy thought was impossible. Allenby did the same thing, but he used information, or really disinformation, as his weapon. He built a completely fake reality that his enemy believed was true. The bottom line for both? They got their opponent to look in the completely wrong direction.
And as soon as the enemy was distracted, bam, they hit him with everything they had. Thutmose, leading from his own chariot, just smashes the enemy line. Allenby has his infantry punch a hole in the now weakened defenses and then unleashes a flood of cavalry, the Desert Mounted Corps, which just pour into the enemy's rear, capturing everything and cutting off any chance of escape.
And that, right there, that's the timeless lesson of Megiddo. It doesn't matter if you have chariots or airplanes, bronze swords or machine guns. The principles of victory are the same. Surprise your enemy,
hit them where they're not looking, with overwhelming speed, and then surround them. So both plans worked like a charm, leading to 2 huge victories. But there's a fascinating twist in what happened right after each battle that shows just how much warfare had changed.
So after Thutmose's army won the day, they made a classic mistake. Instead of chasing down the fleeing enemy kings, his soldiers got distracted by all the loot in the enemy camp and stopped to plunder it. That little mistake allowed the enemy leaders to escape into the city of Megiddo, which meant Thutmose had to lay siege to it for 7 long months. He won the battle, but the war wasn't quite over.
Allenby, on the other hand, had no such problem. As the Ottoman army tried to retreat through a narrow valley, Allenby made a call to the Royal Air Force. In just 1 hour, bombers and fighters turned that entire retreating army into a 6-mile-long traffic jam of death and destruction. There was no plunder, no escape. It was just over. Technology had made the victory absolute.
And just to give you a sense of the scale, Thutmose's victory was measured in loot. He captured 924 chariots. In the ancient world, that's like capturing an entire armored division today, a massive haul.
But the scale of Allenby's victory, it's just staggering. It was measured in people. His plan worked so perfectly that 75,000 enemy soldiers were taken prisoner. Entire Ottoman armies just ceased to exist.
So, when all the dust settles after thousands of years, what is the real legacy of these incredible battles fought on the very same ground? Well, for one thing, the name itself became immortal. You've heard the word Armageddon, right? The final battle at the end of the world. Well, that word comes directly from this place. It's the Greek version of the Hebrew Har Megiddo, the Mount of Megiddo. This place saw so many catastrophic, decisive battles that its name literally became the word for the final one.
And the real-world impact was just as epic. Thutmose's victory kicked off the golden age of the Egyptian Empire, and Allenby's victory didn't just win a battle. It destroyed the 600-year-old Ottoman Empire and directly led to the creation of the modern Middle East, with the borders we still see today.
Which leaves us with one final big thought. The story of Megiddo proves that geography can literally destine a place for conflict. It just makes you wonder, what are the strategic choke points of our world today? The shipping lanes, the pipelines, the underwater data cables, what are the modern Megiddos that will become the battlefields of the future?